Hey guys, JCamman99 here. I'm going to do a little Bills season prediction for you guys. Basically what I'm doing is I'm not looking at the X's and O's and doing player analysis. Honestly, it's really hard to do that because we don't know what's going to happen day in and day out throughout the NFL season. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm basically looking at each game and I'm going to give you a prediction based on whether I think they're going to win or lose. And I'm also going to scale it a little bit. I'm going to explain this one time and hopefully it makes sense. I've broken every game into 5 categories. Basically, if I say it's a green game, that means they're going to win. Like I am almost 100% sure. If I say it's a red game, I honestly think they have no shot. They're going to lose. If I say it's a yellow game, that means that honestly it's a toss-up. I do not know who's going to win. I am just kind of making a best guess. If I say it's a blue game, that means I think they're going to win, but I also know that there's a possibility they could lose. And then finally with orange, basically what I'm saying is almost the opposite. I think they're going to lose, but I do think there is a slight possibility they can win. So let me just go through each game and I will tell you what I think. And here we go. So game 1, we have the Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. This is actually, the start off the season, it's a yellow game. I honestly have no clue who is going to win this game. There are positives and negatives on both sides. You got Tyrod coming back to Baltimore to play his old team, so obviously he's going to be hyped for that game. And then you also have the fact that the Ravens are back at full strength again, and they're going to want to start the season off on a much better foot. The last couple times we've played the Ravens, they've been very close games. Once went into overtime, the other one we beat them at home. And that was right after they won the Super Bowl. So it's a winnable game. But because it is in Baltimore, I say the Bills are going to lose the first game. Barely. All right, so let's move on to the second game. A few days later, Jets versus Bills at home. I consider this a blue game because the Jets, it's kind of their revenge game because we kicked them out of the playoffs last year. But I think the Bills have too much going on. It's home. It's Thursday night. And granted, we beat them last year Thursday night and they're home. But it's our season opener. I feel there's going to be so much more hype for our side than there will be their side. So I think while I know there's a possibility we can lose, I am marking this down as a win for Buffalo. So I think after week 2 we'll be 1-1. So 10 days later, let's skip on. Bills versus Arizona. Arizona making their 5th trip to Buffalo. They have barely ever come here. And actually, I think it's only their 2nd time as the Arizona Cardinals. I think the other times it was when they were technically St. Louis and technically Phoenix. And we've had a pretty good streak against the Cardinals, winning almost every single time with the exception of the Losman game about 8 years ago. And they haven't been back here since 2004. I think the problem is the Arizona Cardinals are... They were almost in the Super Bowl last year. They had an amazing record. And I think the Bills are going to have a huge advantage because we're playing them at home where they haven't won here since 1971 as their franchise. And granted, there's not a lot of visits to Buffalo, so that's part of that reason. So this is hard to say, but I think the Bills will lose this game. Alright, so the next game is the New England game. I'll just make this run real quick. Brady's not playing unless the NFL forgives him in the next month. So I don't think Jimmy Garappolo is going to have too much of anything to go against the Bills. I don't think he's going to pull a Matt Castle. So I see us winning that game. I say it's a blue game because even though I really think we're going to win, I know there's a possibility because it's the Patriots that they could possibly pull it off. But I'd be shocked if we didn't win this one. So I have the Bills at 2-2 at this point. Okay, Week 5, Bills versus Rams. Okay, now this is huge because here we are. We're going to LA. Haven't gone to LA in a long time. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. Basically, here's my breakdown. I think if the Bills were playing the Rams here, it'd be a win, like easily. Like they still have quarterback issues. Like overall, the Bills have the better talent. They have much more going on. But because we're going all the way to the West Coast, and the Bills are not that great on the West Coast when they make their travels, I have this as one of my yellow games. I believe that the Bills will lose in Los Angeles this year, so they'll be 2-3 after this game. Okay, so finally, let's have a good game here. Week 6 versus the 49ers. Now, despite their record, I actually have this as a green game. We're 5-6 against them. We've lost the last couple meetings, and here's a really sad statistic. We've had one field goal in the last 2 games we played them. So in the last 2 games, we've scored a total of 6 points against the 49ers. But I have this as a green game. I have this as a game that I would bet that they would win. And the reason for that is, like, out of all the teams right now, they're definitely on the lower end of the power rankings. They don't know who their quarterback is. They are also traveling to us again. And I think just overall, they're just trying to figure themselves out, and we're doing a lot better. And it's going to be one of those games where we're at home, and if we've already lost a few games, like, it's one of those games where we really need to pencil in and win. So I have this as a Bills victory all the way. So at this point, we're going every other game 3-3. So then we travel down to Miami. Now, this game I have as a blue game. I think we're going to win. Reason being is that we've done really good against Miami. And the Miami home crowd isn't that great, so I never really fear going to Miami. Tannehill's really never done much against Buffalo. So, I mean, now the one thing they do have this year, I mean, they do have 2 things. They got Adam Gase now as their coach, so their offense might have some different looks to it. And they also have a much better defense now. Some old Bills players joining their crew. So there's definitely going to be a lot more to the rivalry this year. But I think that the Bills are going to have the upper hand, and I have them winning, going 4-3 at this point. So let's talk about, okay, these next 2 are going to be really fast. Week 8, playing New England. Look, Brady's going to be back. The idea of us sweeping the Patriots is just silly. So I have this as a red game. I don't think we're going to win this game at all. Let's move on to Week 9. Buffalo versus Seattle, Monday night. Horrible that we have to go to Seattle, of all places, on another Monday night, where it's basically almost a guaranteed loss for the Bills. We're going to the West Coast. We're playing in one of the worst hostile environments against one of the better defenses in the league. We don't have a shot. I'd be 100% shocked. So I have this as another red game that the Bills will not win. So at this point, let me back up. At this point, they are 4-5 going into their bye week. Okay, so once they come back from their bye week, they're playing against Cincinnati. Now, I will admit to you that the last few years, I have thought that every Cincinnati game we're going to win because the Bills have had an awesome history against the Bengals. But in the last few years, like ever since Andy Dalton came on stage, the Bills have done nothing against them. So I'm unfortunately going with, I hate to say the new tradition, but I think they're going to lose again. Like, they lose to the Bengals now. And this is one of my orange games, not just because we're playing the Bengals and they're orange colored, but because I believe that there's a possibility we can win. And it's actually really, it's kind of like, we're not playing Kansas City this year, thank goodness, but like, it's kind of like playing KC. Like, those Kansas City games were always doable wins. And so is the Cincinnati game, but I think really looking at it realistically, I think it'll be a loss. So at this point, we're now 4-6. So let's move on to Week 12. Jacksonville. Jacksonville's supposed to be a lot better next year, but they beat us last year. I remember that game, the London game. I think a lot of the Bills players are going to keep that game in mind, and I see us winning that game. I have it as a blue game. I know it's a possibility, especially because it's Jacksonville. It could honestly go either way, but overall, I'm going to say that the Bills win that, and we're going to be at 5-6 at this point. So then, once again, for I think the third time this year, we have to go back to the West Coast, and we're playing Oakland. Oakland is another up-and-coming team. The truth is, I think the Jacksonville and the Oakland game can really flip-flop. I have it as a yellow game, even though I literally just said it could flip-flop. I think it really could go either way. I might have to lean a little bit more toward an orange, honestly. With the Oakland game and the Jacksonville game, they're really... Basically, both those games are flip-flops. If we lose one, we win the other. I don't see us winning both. I think we'll win one of those two games. So kind of, especially since Jacksonville's at home and Oakland's on the road on the other end of the country, I have Oakland beating us week 13. So at this point, we're now 5-7. So then we get into the final four games. We have Pittsburgh now at home. Pittsburgh's one of the best teams in the AFC, if not the best, with New England's issues this year. So I have it as a loss. I'm counting it as an orange game. I don't think it's completely red because we're at home. And 6 years ago, we almost beat them in overtime if it wasn't for Stevie Johnson dropping the ball. So I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it's a 100% loss game. But the chances of us winning, I think, are probably like 2 out of 10, honestly. So I have it as a loss. So at this point, we're 5-8. Okay. So then, good news, I have a green game, Week 15 versus Cleveland. I think we beat them. I mean, maybe RG3's doing good, but Cleveland, and maybe Hugh Jackson's turning around. It's possible. But at this point, like it's later in the season, the Bills are 5-8. We want to get some wins. Like at that point, people are calling for them to lose, and you know they're not going to actually lose when we're calling for them to lose. So, 6-8. So let's move on to the next game. Home against Miami on Christmas Eve. Now, it's unrealistic to think there's going to be a sweep, but that's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting another win against Miami. I think the one at home, like the first one's going to be the tough one down in Miami. Like that would be like a field goal differential or something like that. I think it'll be a really hard-fought game. But I think by the time Miami comes up here in Buffalo in the winter, if it's a cold winter this year, I believe that at that point, Miami will be a lot more weaker and will, I don't want to say destroy them, that's not really the right way of putting it, but I think we'll win pretty handily, actually. So, I mean, is it possible they'll win? Yeah. But I'm going to have to say that the Bills win that game, and now they're 7-8. And then finally, the New York Jets again. I have this, unfortunately, as an orange game because we beat them, twice last year. We're going to beat them in the opener. I mean, how many times are we going to be able to beat the Jets? I mean, they're a much better team now. Fitzpatrick's going to want to get revenge at some point. So, you know what? So at this point, I'm going to say a loss. It's possibly, it's like yellow/orange for me. Like, I really do believe it's possible that we could win. Like, it's almost more of a toss-up, but I'm penciling it in as a loss. So that means that the record I have is 7-9, which is not good, obviously. A huge disappointment from where we want to be. But I want to take a look at 3 games that I mentioned before. Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Oakland. I marked all those as my yellow games. And basically what I mean is I can easily see them flip-flop. Like, I really could. They're all coin toss games. So if the coin lands on the right edge, you know what I mean, it'll be... You could go from being 7-9 to 10-6, like easily, with those 3 games. So I'm not trying to say that those are the 3 games the Bills need to focus on the most, but while you are watching, while you, the fan, are watching, keep those games in mind as being really important games for the rest of the season. At least I believe so. If we are able to, if the Bills are able to prove me wrong here and win those games, then I would say that they have a really good chance of possibly making the playoffs, especially with the suspension with Brady, and you never know. And if Fitzpatrick has a rough year and Miami doesn't live up to expectations, it really could be a Bills divisional win at 10-6. It's possible. It's not 100%, but it's definitely a possibility. So I mean, like Pittsburgh doesn't play New England during the whatchamacallit, the suspension. So It's possible. So I'm hoping I won't get too much negative feedback from that, but if you do want to give me some constructive feedback of what you think the schedule on the season prediction will be, leave a comment and let me know. Hope you enjoyed, and go Bills, and I'm hoping for a much better season than I just predicted to you guys. Take care, guys.